everyone.
Hi there. We're here.
Welcome to Winning Wednesday, presented by the attorneys of Adair Thurston. I'm Brandon Cott, an associate attorney here.
And I am Gabriela Vega. I'm also an associate attorney. I am the immigration attorney, and I'm excited to be here today because today is an immigration talk day.
Yes, it is. And following along the theme of Valentine's Day today, in the theme of love, we will be discussing Fiancee Visas with Gabriela.
Fiancee Visas, one of my favorite topics, Brandon. It's a very cool topic.
And I'm super excited for today because I know very little about this topic, so I'm really excited for us all to learn together and to really figure out. We're going to just use your expertise today. We're going to figure out everything there is to know about fiancé visas
And not only will you get to learn about a topic that you did not know about, you will get to learn what you're going to do if you meet the love of your life online and want to marry them.
Which happens
It can happen.
I will say that happens more frequently now.
It does. It really does. Not only are you going to learn those things, we are going to actually reward you for participating.
Woo!
That's right.
Come through Adair Thurston.
That's right. So to promote a really wonderful event happening in our community of Manhattan, Kansas, we are giving away tickets to the Pancakes for Pawnee fundraiser. This is happening on February 25th from 4:30 to 7:30, and each ticket admits one person for a pancake feed at Early Edition located at either location here in Manhattan, Kansas. And so all you have to do, our friends, is ask a question.
Yes,
ask
and it's
a question.
easy.
Put it in the comments section. Not only will we say
you're awesome,
yay,
Owen,
but not only will we announce your name, we will also remind you that you have a ticket waiting for you for free pancakes and for a wonderful cause.
Yum. Yes.
Pawnee Mental Health Services.
Pawnee Mental Health offers mental health services around our community, multiple communities in our area. I know that in
North
my
Central
practice,
Kansas, yes.
Yeah, in my practice, I have a lot of clients who do work with them, and frankly, it's a really great cause. And so I hope that you guys ask questions. I hope that you guys go to this pancake feed. It's going to be great.
Absolutely.
And with that,
the tickets are already bought, so you might as well enjoy the meal.
Yeah, enjoy the food on us. We love that.
Exactly.
So with that, we're going to get into the thick of Fiancee Visas. And like we do with a lot of our programs, we're going to start off by just kind of outlining some of the basics, the fundamentals, so that way we can then get the vocabulary to move on to the big stuff.
I think that's always a really good idea, Brandon.
So first off, let's begin in the beginning. What's a fiancé visa?
That's an excellent question. So a fiancé visa is a type of family-based visa that is used to come to the U.S. for the purposes of concluding a marriage, okay? So that means that you are already in a committed relationship with an individual. You have a plan that you are going to come to the U.S. and that you're going to get married. And once here, you will remain and then begin what we've talked about in the past, which is the adjustment of status process. Okay. And so it's a family-based visa type that helps us get to that point of marriage.
Okay. And this might be me jumping the gun, but you say for the purpose of completing a marriage. Is the planning a part of that?
No, the planning is not a part of it.
Okay.
So for any of those of you that know anything about fiancé visas, any of those of you that have ever watched my 90-Day Fiancé on TLC, the Learning Channel.
Learning so
much, not at all.
Learning how to get a good divorce attorney.
That's right. The rule about fiancé visa is that once you are admitted into the U.S. with the fiancé visa, you and your fiancé have 90 days to actually complete the marriage.
Okay.
So if I come in on January 1, then by March 31st, right, I should be married. If I am not, then I have technically to return back to my home country to begin the new process of either another fiancé visa or if you later on get married, then
Do
doing
not
just a marriage
pass
visa.
go.
It's a tough one.
Go
It's a
straight back
tough
to
one.
start.
Right. Right.
So, okay. Well, I'm sorry if I kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but that was like a
that's
weird
a great
word.
question. Yeah, to conclude a marriage, you're right. But that's exactly right. I mean, people are like, "Well, we're gonna see once they get here." No, you can't see. You have 90 days. You better be getting towards the point where you're planning it, and it's a close proximity. So.
I was gonna say, my old property professor said you sat on your duff too long, which seems more appropriate than the thought that came to my mind. So, okay, that being said, in immigration, whenever we've kind of talked, there's always been like a paper or a filing that has begun these
exactly
processes. Right. Is there a paper or a filing that we need to do here?
There is, Brandon. So to initiate the fiancé visa process, we do it with an important document. There's other documents that go along with it, but we initiate it with a petition, and that petition is the petition for alien fiancé, the Form I-129F.
The one thing I will say I love about immigration is the fact that they label their forms so meticulously.
It actually helps, I think a lot of people... because they do that, a lot of people think then that immigration becomes very easy because it's just filling out forms.
It's like taxes, right?
Right. And so it works both in people's favor because it helps clarify it for those that are going to DIY it. But then it sometimes maybe, like you said, lulls people into a sense of security because it is a very simplified format.
Right. I feel like immigration DIY is a lot like home DIY in that you think you're good and then you tear down a load-bearing wall and you've got some more problems.
Yeah, possibly. I think it's more along the lines of DIY surgery.
Worse.
You might be able to stitch something up, but
it's still going to be ugly.
It's still going to be a little bit ugly. That's exactly right.
Okay. Okay, so a lot of times when we have this system, we have something called consular processing.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So consular processing, and we've talked about this before where we talk about adjustment of status being processed within the U.S. Consular processing means that there's going to be some component of this petitioning request process, this petitioning process, that will require the individual to go into one of the U.S. consulates in their country of origin. Okay. So in other words, they'll have to do some sort of interview at a Department of State run consulate, or they'll have to meet with someone in order to.
So there might be some travel required, or getting to a meeting point.
Well, so most of the time, the fiancé visa is used because people are living outside of the U.S., right? And so yes, and like for example, if I am going to do a fiancé visa in Colombia, the location where the U.S. consulate is in Bogota. Mm-hmm. And so if you live anywhere else, then that means you will have to travel to complete that process. But that interview or that meeting at that consulate, that is the consular processing, and that is crucial to being able to move on to the next step, which is to finally be able to legally enter the U.S.
Wonderful. Wow. I'm loving this. I'm learning so much.
Well, I'm glad.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite topics for sure.
Good. What is the National Visa Center?
So that's an important piece as well. And that is just one of the clearinghouses used by the Department of State and Department of Homeland Security to take applications like the fiancé visa that are approved by Immigration Services and process them and share them with the Department of State, who ultimately helps with the interviewing at the consulate.
Wonderful.
So in a fiancé visa, you have some, what I would say, multi-jurisdiction, multi-agency work involved. You have Department of Homeland Security who runs USCIS.
Right.
And then once they say, yes, okay, it looks like this is an appropriate fiancé visa, then it goes to the Department of State, and the Department of State sends it to their consulate that applies. But within there is a clearinghouse, and that clearinghouse is the National Visa that helps them talk to one another.
Whoa. So, if anybody has ever wondered about the size of our administrative branch of government, it is massive.
Huge. Administrative law is huge, and it's sometimes it works around us and we don't even know it. It's like electricity.
Yes. I would definitely say
Amazing.
Everybody thinks laws happen in Congress, but in fact, 90% of the laws that all of us live under are actually created in administrative agencies. Fun fact.
Absolutely.
So, can a spouse use a fiancé visa?
So that's an important question, and this is the final question in helping us to secure some of the lingo that we need to then start talking about how to move forward with the fiancé visa process.
Right.
The short, quick answer to that is yes. You don't have to be using it for the point of coming and only concluding the marriage. If the individuals are already married, but the foreign spouse is living in another country, you can conceivably use the fiancé visa process to try to get them to come into the country in advance of a marriage interview so that they can then conclude their green card process here. Okay, so theoretically.
Okay.
But there are some timing pieces involved that usually require a reality of more often than not that marriage case being more efficiently processed completely at the consulate.
Okay.
But strategically, there are some reasons why people would prefer to do what's adjustment of status versus consular processing, and so that's why the fiancé visa would be used. Ultimately, the purpose of the fiancé visa is to bring two people who intend to have a marriage and a life together into the U.S.
Okay. Happy Valentine's Day, y'all. And also remember, if you're just joining the stream or you're just tuning in, if you ask any questions, we are actually going to be giving away tickets to the Pawnee Mental Health Pancake Feed. It's a fundraiser. So the first 5 people to ask any questions
during this stream
about
the fiancé visa topic.
Yes, we will give you one of these tickets. So feel free to answer or chime in as we go through. But now we're going to actually switch and start talking about the real meat and potatoes, right?
Absolutely.
So what are the requirements? We talk about the basics for the fiancé visa. What are the requirements for the actual fiancé visa?
So that's a good question, Brandon. And it's a good question because, as we know, what the requirements will make a world of difference, especially in immigration, right?
Right.
So, Brandon, I have talked to you before about adjustment of status being something that can be done, not adjustment of status, but that both a U.S. citizen and a lawful permanent resident can petition family members to come into the U.S. Remember I've told you that?
Yes.
So this is one of the areas where the requirement differs, and one of the benefits of being a U.S. citizen is that you have the right to initiate a petition for a fiancé visa. Lawful permanent residents don't have a right to do that. So first and foremost, number one requirement, your petitioner, the person saying, hey, U.S. government, I'd love to have my fiancé, my honey, home with me, must be a U.S. citizen. Okay. Second, you must have a couple who is in a romantic relationship who has the intention of forming a marital union together. Obviously, in order for them to be able to form a marital union, they have to be able to have all the legal capacities to enter into marriage. So these are people that have to be single, or previously divorced with proper documentation, that kind of stuff. And they are explaining that they are intending to get married within 90 days of the entry of the intending immigrant, and that's the other part of the requirement. The fourth and final, and the other very important requirement is that this couple has to have actually been within each other's physical presence. So not just, we see each other online, on FaceTime, on Skype, but
we stream together on Wednesdays.
We actually have to have been within the same vicinity within a 2-year period. If you don't have that, more likely than not, you will not qualify for the fiance visa.
Okay. Actually, like that actually leads me into a small question. So, do the Windsor and Obergefell decisions of the United States Supreme Court apply to fiance visas?
Absolutely.
Hot damn.
Thanks to Windsor and Obergefell, you are right. Same gender couples have just as much right as non-same gender couples to use the fiance visa process to bring the love of their life here. And in fact, one of the first cases that I did in 2012 following that decision was a same-gender couple, which I am happy to report is still very happy and together, and I love them. They're wonderful people. If they're watching, hello.
Happy days. And frankly, that's one of the things, because those decisions kind of came in and shook up a bunch of bedrock law that was already there.
Absolutely.
And so that just clicked in my head. Well, good news.
And without question, I mean, prior to 2012, homosexual couples were not permitted to use the benefits of the immigration process because their marriages were not recognized, so they were not entitled to adjustment of status, of family-based benefits, and they were certainly not entitled to fiance visas because you can't marry a same gender as yourself kind of situation was the logic back then, right? And so those decisions were huge in the world of immigration.
Okay, I love that. So now, what are the actual steps involved in that process? So I've met the love of my life, I'm ready to go, we're gonna get married, and what steps do we do?
Yep. So it is approximately a 5-step process in this case. The first step is we file that petition that we talked about. You talked about the forms that we use. And so we start off by filing that petition for alien fiancé. We have to demonstrate that we have a U.S. citizen and a non-U.S. citizen person living outside of the U.S. We have to demonstrate that they are individuals who have legal capacity to enter into a marriage with one another and who have the intention to marry. And of course, at the back of our mind, we always have that requirement of we're going to have to demonstrate some financial capacity, right? Though that's not necessarily an absolute requirement in the first step. It's at this time that you're already starting to think about the financial pieces as well.
Okay.
So when you file this petition for alien relative with USCIS, you send it to them, you wait some time, and then they issue a decision as to whether you are approved or not. If you are approved, that leads you into the next phase, and that next phase means that that application process must now go to the Department of State, to the U.S. Consulate. You must schedule some additional appointment times for an interview for the intending immigrant. And then after a consideration and review by the Department of State there, the individuals, if approved, come into the U.S. Once they are at that point of entry, right, like at a border,
right,
then they have a third, inspection kind of where they're going through all the paperwork, making sure that they still are qualifying, and then are allowed in. The fourth step is that the couple now is in the U.S. and within those 90 days from the date they entered, the intending immigrant entered, they must enter into that marriage. So that's the fourth step. And once that step is done, you then enter into the fifth step, which is begin the process of applying for benefits for lawful permanent residence or green card.
Okay.
So,
I feel like
steps.
we should rename step 4. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. I don't know. I just like shortening things.
You did like it. You need to put the ring on it.
Within 90 days, girl.
Within 90 days.
Quick.
Critical. Critical.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah, but that's essentially the 5-step process. At USCIS, Department of State, the entry, marriage, and then the adjustment of status.
wonderful. So it's only 5 steps, but how long does it take?
A little bit unreasonable to say, probably about total 24 months, right? But I'm suggesting 24 months by the point you've gotten the green card, right? Okay. So let's break it back down, right? The first step is the filing of the petition for alien relative. Once you file that, usually you can expect to see a response within 6 to 9 months. Okay. From immigration saying that they've approved it.
Very speedy down there at
6
immigration.
to 9 months, yeah. Time passes, information is transferred from immigration to the Department of State. Usually takes about 2 months for that to happen.
Okay.
And then you begin the process of doing some final interviews at the U.S. consulate, or some final fiance interviews at the U.S. consulate. That process to get that interview appointment and then the following things take another 2-3 months.
Okay.
Up to. Once you enter, you have up to 90 days to get married, right? But if the couple gets married within a week and then submits everything the following week,
we've expedited.
Right. Versus waiting to the 89th day, right?
Why would you, man? Like,
cutting it close.
Plane tickets.
Yeah.
Deadlines kill me.
So then once you have the marriage and you submit with the what's called the adjustment of status or the application for lawful permanent residence, you'll see another 6 to 9 months of processing. So it just, again, depends on where you shortcut, where you can.
The administrative branch of government has never been accused of being fast. I will say that. No. So that, actually like 6 to 9 months, that seems pretty standard in a lot of realms, but that's still long.
Except that it's 5 steps, right? So if 2 or more of them are 6 to 9 months, so it's not
there's your year.
It's not that it's 6 to 9 months total. It's each step might be 6 to 9 months. So yeah, there's your year, there's your 2 years.
It's funny because you never really think about the lengths and the time and the effort that's actually involved in becoming a person of this country. You know what I mean?
It takes a lot.
People waiting 2 years, getting married, like filing paperwork, getting all of this. It is truly substantial. Like you would really need to love somebody, and you would really need to want to become an American citizen or get your status adjustment in order for you to like even think about doing this. It sounds exhausting to me.
It can be onerous for sure, but at the end of the day, you get to be with the love of your life and build a family in the community that you're choosing for yourself, right? So
that's true. It's worth it. That's the American dream.
Absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it.
So, what kind of evidence would I want to include in any of this?
Mm-hmm. So these are important factors. Evidence in immigration is always the key, right? A lot of times we're going to be needing, and so when people hire me to take on these types of cases for them, I always automatically have a list of evidence that we'll want to incorporate into different aspects of the case. Things, for example, like to meet the requirements, right? So one of the requirements, U.S. citizenship. Therefore, we have to prove that the person saying, hey, the love of my life needs to come to this country is a U.S. citizen. And so we do that by sending birth certificates from a state in the U.S. or a U.S. passport or a certificate of citizenship. So those are the types of things that establish identity, right? On the other side, right, with the fiance, immigrant fiance, likewise we have to establish their identity, and so birth certificates, those types of things are important as well. When you are somebody who's previously been married, you're going to have to establish legal divorce, because you have to demonstrate that you have legal capacity to enter into this new marriage. So those types of documents, proof of prior marriages and divorces will be necessary. And then at the end of the day, you're also needing to establish that you guys have this real relationship, and so the types of evidence that you might have to demonstrate will depend on the relationship you have. If you're the type of couple that meets, at great islands and vacations together, okay, so maybe we show evidence of tickets of us going to these islands and meeting up there, or photos of you coming to visit, and spending time with family.
Okay.
Those types of things help us ultimately demonstrate to immigration that this is a real couple.
And I have seen the beautiful packets that you've put together with
I love
for people.
doing it.
I love
it.
It's
my
really
happy law.
It's honestly like
happy law.
scrapbooking for lawyers, because we're really just gathering all these moments in your life to then prove that it is what it's supposed to be.
Absolutely, and more importantly, proving that this is a family worthy of achieving their version of the American dream. I think that's really important.
Yeah, it is. I love this. Now we have to actually switch over to a topic that's a little bit less fun, which is how or why, or are there any reasons one of these might be denied?
So,
or I guess maybe popular reasons.
Popular reasons. So that's a good question. Is it, is there a possibility that this case can go not as intended? The answer is yes. And a lot of times it is not solely based on the petition filing, right? Because the petition filing is, am I a U.S. citizen? Am I free to marry? And do I want to marry this person, right? If they can prove those three things, then very easy, it should be approved. So usually it's not there where you find the difficulty. The difficulty comes in the process of interviewing and inspecting the intending immigrant.
Okay.
At the U.S. consulate.
That was an alliteration.
Was it?
Interviewing and inspecting the intended immigrant.
Oh gosh, yeah. I do that all the time. I actually love alliteration. It's one of my favorite things. So
all right,
my
Dr.
mind must
Seuss.
be worked like that. I don't know. Okay, so the reason that that's problematic is that even though U.S. citizens have the right to ask for these benefits, immigrants still have to qualify.
Okay.
Right? And so in the past, we've talked about things that make someone inadmissible into the U.S. And so now what we do is shift the focus to the intending immigrant and determine, does this person have any issues that bring us concern? Now, a lot of times it's not just this person, right? I mean, some of the questions are important questions to this person. So for example, have you, an example of a question on the Fiancee Visa or on the immigrant visa entry application. Have you ever entered the U.S. in violation of the law? Right.
Right.
That may be a question. But one of the questions could be, are you the son, daughter, or parent of a known drug trafficker, and have you received financial proceeds from that person? Right? So they're not even saying, are you doing this, but do you have a reason to believe that somebody in your family is doing this, and are you benefiting from it? And so there's a whole bunch of questions that this intending immigrant still has to be vetted through, and a lot of times the denial comes in that portion of the case.
Because of these collateral
reasons. They came before to visit, overstayed a visa, then left and haven't completed their time, their penalties for having overstayed. Or they came on a valid visa, but it's a special type of visa, like a scholar visa, and they have to finish 2 years outside of the U.S. before they come back in to just status.
Okay.
So there could be a whole bunch of little ancillary reasons that have nothing to do with, are you a U.S. citizen and do you have someone you love that's not, and you want to bring them in.
Okay.
That's a long, complicated answer, right? Goodness, sorry about that.
I worry about that in immigration. I worry about people who try and do it on their own, because in the same respect that, even in this 30-minute program, we've dealt with complicated issues and there are long answers.
And notice we haven't even gotten
we haven't even made it through halfway.
through our outline, right?
And here we are at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, the thing that I really take away from this is it's not nearly as simple as just filling out Form I-29F,
I-129F.
Oh, shit. See?
You already done gotten in trouble because you sent the wrong form in.
Okay.
I'm just kidding, sweetie.
Ice, please. I hope you're not watching.
No.
So... But
you're absolutely right. The big takeaway is that this is a multi-step process, a multi-agency case, and there are more things than you can think of that can cause problems for your case. And the reality is that sometimes people don't realize is once you've sent everything out, you can't take it back, right? So if you accidentally crossed the wrong thing or said, no, I'm not the son of a trafficker, but you are, now you've not only are the son of a trafficker, but now you've lied, right? And so there's just so many little nuances that make it hard. So I guess the takeaway is hire me, people.
And frankly, you should. Gabriella she is the rock that I lean on with every single immigration question that I have. And she's been invaluable to me in my law practice. So I am sure that if you need help, she will be helpful to you. So if you need to arrange an appointment with Gabriella, our number is 785-776-2000.
Absolutely.
You can get in contact with any of
hablamos
us.
español. Tenemos 3 personas aquí que hablan español perfecto. We can help you, whether you speak English or
We
Spanish.
have 3 people in our office who speak perfect Spanish.
That's exactly right. Girl.
And then a 4th who kind of dabbles mediocre. And so...
A 4th who just took a risk.
Yes, I did. So that kind of concludes us for this topic of Winning Wednesday. I believe that we will probably be back to this topic given the fact that we've got
so
a lot of stuff here. But before we leave, I did want to tell you that next week we're going to be doing child support and updates to the child support guidelines, which are fresh this year, with Autumn Fox, our awesome family law attorney.
So awesome. We love Autumn.
And that's going to be you and Autumn, correct? Okay.
That is correct. It'll be me and Autumn talking child support. And next Wednesday, just like this Wednesday, we're going to be giving away free tickets to the Pancakes for Pawnee Mental Health Foundation Pancake Feed. It is on Tuesday, February 25th. Pancake Feed just before Ash Wednesday. Who doesn't want free pancakes that night?
Get a little
You don't
fat.
have to cook.
I love it.
Just before lunch.
And also, if you are interested, this Friday, you can join the attorneys of Adair Thurston at the Kansas State University Drag Show.
Oh, yes!
Where
Drag show!
We will be raising money for mental health services on K-State
At
for
K-State
students.
campus, LGBT students, right?
As well as for the LGBT Resources Center, I believe.
Yes.
And so, bring out your pocketbooks. It is for charity. And we're really excited to be there. It's a huge event for us every single year. So
huge event. Something we're really proud to have been involved with for years now. Great organization we believe in and we love.
And so if you see us there, we'll be there. So if you see us, come say hi. Come say that you saw us on this or anything like that. We love hearing from you. And it's been wonderful being with you today.
Absolutely. So. Thank you all so much. Brandon and I are glad that we could be here to share with you about Fiancee Visas. Next month for immigration, we will be talking about public charge, which has changed. So, and
if you've seen the news, it's going to be hot.
Yep. So until next week, bye. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good night. Take care of each other.